As a Bioshock fan, it's been a very, very long 10 years.
What year is it?
Since the last game came out, Bioshock Infinite. Ken Levine, former co-founder of Irrational Games and the incredible System Shock 2, went on to make a spiritual successor which we all came to know and love, Bioshock. The game is set in 1960 and follows Jack,
well, if it isn't Saucy Jack,
who discovers the underwater city of Rapture, built by business magnate Andrew Ryan to be an isolated utopia.
A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
The discovery of Adam, a genetic material which grants superhuman powers, initiated the city's turbulent decline. Jack attempts to escape, fighting Adam-obsessed enemies and Big Daddies, while engaging with the few sane humans that remain, and learning of Rapture's past. The player, as Jack, can defeat enemies in several ways using weapons, utilizing plasmids that give unique powers, and by turning Rapture's defenses against them. Now, like System Shock 2, Bioshock is a first-person shooter with role-playing game customization and stealth elements, and went on to receive universal acclaim and was particularly praised by critics for its narrative, themes, visual design, setting, and gameplay. It is considered to be one of the greatest video games ever made, and a demonstration of video games as an art form.
Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Now, while Bioshock 2 was not made by Irrational, instead by 2K Martin, it may not have lived up to the lofty expectations in the story department, which I still think was very, very good, but retains, in my opinion, the best gameplay in this series. Dual-wielding plasmids and guns while making the hacking minigame more streamlined. Yes, I know we all still love the original Pipe Dreams minigame from Bioshock 1, and displaying the full potential and power of playing as one of the alpha Big Daddies, Delta, trying to find your little sister daughter Eleanor 10 years after your death. Also new to the franchise was a damn good multiplayer component which fits into the universe thematically. Bioshock 2 features a story-driven multiplayer mode called Fall of Rapture, in which the player plays one of Rapture's citizens during the 1959-1960 Civil War. Multiplayer featured, a ton of different game modes, from Deathmatch, Survival of the Fittest, Civil War, Capture the Sister, which was like a variant of Capture the Flag, where you capture or defend a little sister, and Turf War, in which teams compete to control specific areas of the map. And the maps are based on locations from the original Bioshock. It was a great sequel to an already great game.
Place it against your head. Fire.
But now getting back to Irrational, creative director Ken Levine was initially uninterested in creating a sequel, but they later renegotiated with 2K to produce another Bioshock game. They decided to continue the franchise their own way, leaving the fictional world of Rapture behind, creating Bioshock Infinite in 2013, which took us to the place furthest from under the ocean you can go, among the clouds in the sky in the fictional airborne city Columbia.
Attention! Attention!
just stay calm.
5,000 feet. 10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
The game's development took 5 years and involved hundreds of employees at Irrational in addition to support studios. The development process was troubled, with Levine's management style resulting in wasted work and missed deadlines. Irrational based the game's setting on historical events at the turn of the 20th century, such as the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, and based the story on the concept of American exceptionalism while also incorporating influences from more recent events at the time, such as the 2011 Occupy movement. The game is set in the year 1912 and follows its protagonist, Booker DeWitt, who was sent to the airborne city of Columbia to retrieve Elizabeth, a young woman held captive there. Booker and Elizabeth become involved in a class war between the nativist founders that rule Columbia and the rebel Vox Populi representing the city's underclass. Elizabeth possesses the ability to manipulate tears in the space-time continuum, and Booker and Elizabeth discover she is central to Columbia's dark secrets. The player controls DeWitt throughout the entire game, fighting enemies, scavenging supplies, while Elizabeth provides assistance. The relationship between Booker and Elizabeth became central to the story, with the team working to make Elizabeth feel like a real character rather than a computer-controlled, AI sidekick. Bioshock Infinite also went on to receive critical acclaim, with praise particularly directed at its story, setting, visual design, and art direction. It has sold more than 11 million copies worldwide.
The seed of the prophet shall sit the throne and drown in flame the mountains of man.
So you'd think someone at 2K would have started working on a sequel relatively quick, right? Well, sadly, that didn't seem to be the case. In 2014, following the release of Bioshock Infinite, Levine opted to significantly restructure the studio from around 90 to 15 employees and focus more on narrative games. In February 2017, the studio announced that it had been rebranded as Ghost Story Games and considered a fresh start from the original Irrational name, though still operating under Take-Two. So, where is the next Bioshock game?
Where? Where? Where, Dwight?
Seems like you already know where.
All we know is that it was announced as in development 4 years ago in 2019 and is currently being developed by Cloud Chamber, a studio founded and owned under the 2K publishing label. The studio is led by former, Firaxis Games veteran developer Kelly Gilmore. Now, as to what the game is, we know it's another first-person shooter with hints of it being maybe somewhat open world, as a Cloud Chamber job listing for senior writer, which was posted back in April 2021, called for someone who can weave impactful, character-driven stories in an open-world setting. Now, as for that setting, it probably won't be a return to Rapture or Columbia, as Gilmore has stated that the Cloud Chamber team is looking to create yet to be discovered worlds and their stories within that push the boundaries of what is possible in the video game medium. So expect to see the story and setting of Bioshock 4 go in a new direction. A senior gameplay programmer has also said to be excited to be working with Unreal Engine 5, which may suggest Bioshock 4 is using the latest generation game, from Epic Games. Now, as for leaks, nothing has really been confirmed, but the biggest claim to what the setting the game may take place for Bioshock 4, apparently titled Bioshock Isolation, will be set in a dystopian city in Antarctica named Borealis. Apparently, the setting will have a 1960s retro psychedelic aesthetic, and the game will have connections to the previous 3 entries. There's also rumors of the game being in development hell, as the game has been rebooted repeatedly and has been through multiple changes in development leadership. It would certainly explain why we haven't had so much as a teaser in over 4 years since its announcement. But over the past decade, development cycles for games, especially AAA ones, have skyrocketed. So a 5-year time frame from now to release is not that unusual. Will we see, at a minimum, a Bioshock 4 trailer in 2024, or at least some info on characters and a setting? After 10 years of waiting and nothing to show for it, I certainly hope